So Cindy, you've been talking about a number of statistics being brought forward by the various data analysts and stuff like that, showing results. Can you talk a little bit to what are some of the key enablers of predictive analytics?
Sure, thanks, Bernie. Be delighted to. Well, there's three underpinnings that are, I'd call it, the technology underpinnings for predictive analytics rather than the soft human side. I'm going to briefly define each of these areas just so that there's a little bit of grounding. I'm going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, machine learning, what that means, but I'm also going to talk about genetic and computing and how these sciences will manifest and evolve, and why, if you want to call it the rise of the machine era, is going to be very much predicated on that third layer. So artificial intelligence isn't necessarily new. It's been around for quite some time. Often I think in the past it was a science or discipline looking for a home. When we saw the incredible increase on data out in the World Wide Web, marketing professionals were very, very alert to how could they mine that data, and then there's a whole generation of technology solutions that came into play, and they started to apply some of these approaches. Companies like Eloqua have some aspects in their demand gen that might take advantage of these techs, but moving into sales as mainstream is very, very new. So AI fundamentally is the name of obviously academic research, which studies how to create computers and computer software that is capable of intelligent behavior and mimicking human behavior with accuracy levels that are quite acute. Just to give you a few examples, if I have 7,000 words that you have written, I can do an accurate predictive psychographic profile using artificial intelligence approaches and get within proximities of 85% accuracy of saying, this is you. Another example would be what Google has done with the World Wide Web and the search patterning recognitions. They're going into some AI algorithms as well to identify search patterns and also to have the search patterns learn from each other, which is a form of informing AI techniques. In our case, we're using lots of blended AI methods. It's not one here at SalesChoice to get to the accuracy levels. And this is a whole body of knowledge that I would encourage everyone to learn a little bit more about. Well, not just because we can understand and appreciate how these technologies are manifesting, but I think more importantly so we can make thoughtful decisions about the value and also how do we want to shape and improve our lives as a human race, so that the sensitivity of these technologies is also taken into account of how they are applied. The weather forecasts are using forms of AI. I've already mentioned Google, voice recognition. Apple Siri also uses AI techniques. But moving these approaches deeply into learning on what's happening across multiple signals into sales in real time, using advanced algorithms and machine learning approaches, that's all very, very new and is something that's just been starting to happen over the last couple of years. On the machine learning side, it's a form of artificial intelligence. It's kind of like that feedback loop. So it learns from what's happening without explicitly having to program. So what I mean by that is that it self-informs the code, and it focuses on teaching itself, and it grows and changes when exposed to new data. So, sciences move into an AI, if you want to call it Uber brain. As new data comes into the Uber brain, it informs the Uber brain, and it places that insight in the right area of the statistical context as well. If you're picking up sentiment mining, positive and negative insights, they can get collected as well. So the machine learning is a way of ebb and flowing, and it's a self-informing aspect of AI. And the rigor there is obviously to ensure that what's being informed is good information and is being interpreted effectively. Now, the genetic programming is here. It's not going away, and this I find is probably one of the more exciting aspects, where the code becomes so self-informing through the machine learning that it actually can start to perform computational tasks. So there are predictions now that sales professionals will be, shift pretty significantly. I think they're predicting over 20,000 jobs will be lost, more on the inside sales side, where a lot of these tasks that are highly repetitive, more on the B2C side, I would say, than the B2B, but they will be replaced with sales, agents that are intelligent agents, being able to handle a lot of that transaction. So this side is kind of an evolution. You have to have a lot of those earlier foundations in place. You can't just leapfrog to the genetic programming side. But as more and more data gets ingested into these predictive analytics engines and amassed, then we're going to call it the Uber brain will start to continue to evolve and learn from its core.
So Cindy, you've got these various technologies which are evolving, and you've given some examples already with respect to how they're being used out in the world with respect to weather forecasting and Google and the like. Keying in on our audience and our topic, what is the opportunity for the use of these technologies for a chief channel officer?
Well, I think let's step back before I kind of highlight maybe a range of skills, and hopefully we're painting a picture that there is a business imperative to do the sense making on having a strategy around predictive analytics. But here's the fundamental question. Today we have 99% of chief sales officers or chief revenue officers, their confidence level that they can make the plan is at an all-time low. We only have 14% confidence levels on plan attainment. Then you add on the 30-60% of the middle tier not making their plans, and pressure on top-line revenue growth. And obviously we all care about growing our businesses so that we can have a good life. And where these sciences can play out in the role of a chief channel officer is we've focused very, very much on the traditional skills in business and training programs and education. And it's kind of interesting if you look at even the university programs, you actually don't have at the university level a lot of sales proficiency development. There's more courses in marketing, ironically enough. But the traditional skills, in terms of sales performance, focus on product, account coverage, direct and indirect sales, knowledge, know-how, territory management, compensation management, sales forecasting, solution selling, customer satisfaction thinking. These skills are very much ingrained in sales professionals. The piece that we are weaker on, and where I think we've made maybe some mistakes, I would say, we've made some mistakes by assuming that some of the new knowledge should only reside in marketing, in the sense of social media knowledge, web-based channels, etc. The reality is that the digital channel is our new world, and chief sales officers, chief channel officers absolutely have to understand the makeup of these channels and know how to move them into play effectively to get the sales coverage that they need with the product or solution sets that they're selling. So I do think we're going to see some restructuring of thinking. I'm already starting to see it now, where companies are starting to put into place chief data officers. I think people are making a few mistakes. They're putting them under IT, which is the last place I think those roles should be. I think there's one thing about data governance at a pure, tech level, but at the strategic level of, advancing the business and knowing what levers of data can advance the business very much should be a core mainstream business role. So building skills as a chief channel officer and learning about these data sciences, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, are going to be an increasing area of competency development to, quite frankly, compete. And more importantly, you will be hit by a number of vendors, and some will be good, as we know, and some will be, communicating the value of what they can do, and it will be exaggerated. So unless you understand the deeper sciences and the approaches and the methods, it's going to be hard to actually vet the good players from the bad players, because the algorithms are, IP, and understanding the different disciplines and having that kind of critical eye is going to have to come from the business side. And so as I look at the market, I see the need for the chief channel officer to, in order to stay relevant in sort of that omni-channel, they absolutely have to start immersing themselves in these newer areas where so much of the buying decisions are being made, and where the additional, I call it white space, will be found or can be mined is actually going to come from these kinds of approaches around the edges, Bernie. So, it's an exciting time for sales professionals, and if your organization is rooting the leadership of data sciences into the IT organization, I would definitely start worrying. I think there's a role there for IT, but not to drive the solutioning side of these approaches.
Great. So when we're talking about the role of predictive analytics right now and the focus on sales, can you talk to kind of like a case study of a customer reaping the benefits of using predictive analytics?
Sure. Thanks, Bernie. Well, and in our case, what has been interesting before I kind of dive in here, because this case is one that we're very, very proud of, we've found that most of the clients are very, very reticent to want to share the results of the upside, because they really don't want their competitors to know, Bernie. There is a lot of pride right now in learning about these emerging sciences. You see sales operational leadership getting excited when they can see the reasons for the wins and the losses, and they know the statistics are very, very sound. Then they start to see that the predictions on what's going to happen are at 93% accuracy, and if they do a commit on an opportunity where the science is saying that your odds are less than 20 or 30%, and here you're putting in your commit forecast, and they see month over month that the science is right and their human bets are wrong, which has been more often the case, then they start to realize, it's like, oh my God, we have a friend, we have a new friend that can help us, and then it's like this new pet project. They don't really want to say too much to too many people. So that's been our biggest observation, is the nature of these NDAs are very, very confidential. That being said, there's always a few Pied Piper. This is Dinesh Kandashandra. He's one of our major champions. He was involved, has been involved with us for the last 2 years. We have moved their conversion rates from 45% to 85% with our technologies. They've been able to reduce their headcount as well. They just follow what SalesChoice says. Obviously, they've got some other methods, but they will only work on the transactions where we are confident that these are the best data sets and the best opportunities from the multiple signals that we've picked up. So it just stratifies things and focuses them. And he's just saying, geez, if you've taken all of our historical data, you're picking up things outside the CRM as well. I'm not going to argue with 10 PhDs in math that you guys have found the hidden patterns to our business across all of our product sets, all of our solution sets, and let's just see what happens. So that was the attitude he took out of the gate, and the ROI in this particular company is actually much higher than the 1,000%. But after you get to that level, you don't want to. The numbers don't. It doesn't really matter. It's just a solid case. And we've also learned that these sciences are totally industry agnostic. But again, we specialize in B2B. We're not a B2C player, at least at this point in time.
So when you're looking at evaluating the effectiveness of data sciences and predictive analytics, what does the company need to do to secure a baseline against leading practices?
Well, Bernie, obviously the nice part about being on our team here is you knew what the setup was. I know what we've done, everybody, is what we've learned, and we hadn't planned to do this. We're trying to stay very, very focused on our core as being a product-driven, scalable SaaS company servicing small, mid, large enterprises. If you've got, 25 sales reps or more using Salesforce.com, we absolutely can bring value. We have gone down as low as 15 sales reps as long as there were 2,000 historical wins and losses. But what we've learned through the journey over the last 2.5 years building this tech, because it's mainly been a lot of heavy R&D and validation with different sized accounts, is that there are some leading practices. And so what we've recently done, we've put together a 5-construct maturity diagnostic model with 5 to 6 questions in each area where you can very easily determine where you're at. And it's simple yes-nos, questions that you may not have thought of. So we've worked with this, we've validated it. We're working with the University of Toronto Rotman Business School here in Canada. So I know some of you online are not from Canada, but that would be one of our top business schools in the country. And Dr. Anthony Wensley and I are the lead researchers, and then we have some other researchers helping us. So our goal is to go out to over 5,000 companies worldwide with this instrument. Today, after the call, Bernie, I think tomorrow is sending you each a thank you for attending, and there'll be an opportunity for you to fill out the questions, and the survey final consolidated report will be a gift back to you in early February, January 20th, and we're hoping you can come online and hear the results, but also then download the report. So we've done this for our clients mainly because they've started to say, well, where are we at in relationship? So we wanted to do the framework, the continuum. It helps having been a former Accenture partner. I'm used to these kinds of things. It's a very simple framework, but the questions are questions I suspect more often than not that you have not thought about before, and that's only goodness where we're trying to expose you to those questions to help you think harder. The ebook as well. When we started this kind of discovery on this topic, we essentially wrote 50 pages. I think I'm a bit of a voracious thinker, writer at times. And this, once you fill the survey, you'll also be given a copy of our new ebook. I can assure you it'll be a really good read. I think it's really, really good content to train your senior executives. It's light with lots of facts, lots of examples, and I think reflects the quality of our work here at SalesChoice in really helping to advance the field of making sales a science. Just in closing, before I turn it over to Bernie, obviously I've talked about a fair bit of benefits, but this is just a good encapsulation that by and large these sciences will drive over 1 to 2x revenue growth, EBITDA growth 2x, stock appreciation. McKinsey's gone on record 8 to 10 times compound annual growth rate. I mean, the bottom line is if your company, small, mid, or large, isn't experimenting in advanced sciences in your sales organizations, you will absolutely be left behind. When I started this research, I was curious 3 years ago and I was concerned about the attention deficit of sales professionals, and I really, really wondered if there could be just like an Uber guiding me in my car down the right road, and just get me to plan. And I felt that there was a way. And every 2 weeks, when I see the new R&D efforts that come out and the validation back, I know we're on the right pathway. The whole objective is to get everybody in a company to win, and hopefully more people to club, and also to create more jobs, and the jobs that, quite frankly, can be highly codified or automated, the jobs will evolve, right? And so for sales professionals to have a continued long-term career, they're going to have to become a little bit more data alert and also recognize that there's patterns that can help them see more and clearly then win more.